What's in a name? Letters. This is a fantastic intro, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant. I've run out of material. How are we doing, everybody? It's your Mosasaur, Prince of Steel, Tethysaurus Yorkshire, and today I thought I'd do a bit of a different video. So, I had a bit of an epiphany the other day. I thought, we don't call Tyrannosaurus Rex the Tyrant Lizard King in common tongue, do we? Well, I don't. I use Yorkshire tongue, you know. Tyrannosaurus Rex, Tyrant Lizard King. Ain't no king of mine. Basically, my point is that we don't use colloquial, layman, or common names for most prehistoric taxa. We do for a few, so woolly mammoth, Mammuthus primigenius, saber-toothed cat, so Smilodon, or giant ground sloths like Megatherium. You know, we don't call Allosaurus the different lizard, do we? We use Allosaurus. So, as a fun little experiment, I'm going to do a series where I give common names to mosasaurs. Now, what are mosasaurs? Well, your guess is as good as mine. And I'm going to start this series by looking at some of the more basal Mosasauroids, so we're talking Aegyalosaurs, Dolichosaurs, Coniosaurs, and other assortments of basal Mosasauroids that we don't really have a good phylogenetic signature on. We're not even sure if Aegyalosaurs are a thing. It could be paraphyletic. So just to pre-warn you, I've got my laptop just off here with all the information, all the names here, like I usually do in my videos. But if you see me looking off to the side a bit like this, it's because of that. It's because there's a lot of words to read. There's a lot of words. I can't fit all the words in my eid. My eid's full of other stuff. So let's crack on with the first Mosasauroid, which is Proaegyalosaurus. Wait, what? So Proaegyalosaurus seems to be a late Jurassic taxon from the Solnhofen limestone deposits in Bavaria, Germany. Now, it's probably been destroyed, unfortunately, the specimen, so it's probably not even a mosasaur. It's probably not even a mosasauroid. It's probably just a very similar creature that looked very sort of Aegyalosaur-like, probably convergently evolved to look like an Aegyalosaur. But for the sake of this video, Proaegyalosaurus, we're going to call it the Bavarian lagoon lizard because, well, it's from Bavaria, and the Solnhofen limestone environment was basically like a lagoon, and this thing was probably swimming about. So Bavarian lagoon lizard, I do like. You know, it rolls off the tongue. Bavarian lagoon lizard. Now, for proper mosasauroids, we're going to get into the Dolichosaurus, the namesake of the Dolichosaurs. This is from the Cenomanian of the chalk deposits in England, so around about 100 to 92 million years ago, possibly. It's got a slender, long body, so it's like a snake with legs almost. So this one's pretty simple. This 1 meter long Dolichosaurus is probably going to be named either the Dolic lizard in a common name or the long-necked Angolian lizard, which Angolian, you know, it works. Jumping from the UK over to Europe, we're going to go with Cominosaurus from the Cenomanian Turonid around about 100 to 93 million years ago from Comene, Slovenia. Now, this was formerly known as the Trieste Aegyalosaur and lived alongside another Aegyalosaur that we'll get into a bit later called Carzosaurus. This animal was about up to 2 meters in length, so a very large Aegyalosaur, in fact. Now, I had a bit of fun with this one, so I've gone with Great Comene Kurska. I think Kurska is how you pronounce the word lizard in Slovenian, so if I've got that wrong, I do apologise, but that's what I've got with the Great Comene Kurska. Now, Carzosaurus, that's a very interesting taxon. I'd like to do a video on at some point in the future. This one, again, lived in the same time, same place as Cominosaurus. It was a little bit smaller, probably about 1.5 meters in length. This animal I'm going to call the Karst Kurska because it's from the area called the Karst Plateau. So, yeah, simple as. Next one is from Jerusalem, around about 100 to 93 million years ago, so around the same time as the other two that I just mentioned. This one's possibly a chimeric specimen of an Aegyalosaur called Hasisaurus. Now, I've gone with, for this particularly 1 meter long Aegyalosaur, so a smaller Aegyalosaur, I've gone with Hassic lizard, which is in reference to one of the paleontologists, George Hass, who actually sort of is involved in the sort of taxonomic discovery of this particular animal. And we get to one of the main girls herself. This is Aegyalosaurus from the Cenomanian of Croatia, around about 99 to 94 million years ago. Now, there's possibly 2 species in this. There's Aegyalosaurus dalmaticus and Aegyalosaurus buccici, but buccici is probably another distinct taxon called a Petiosaurus. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to keep them separate. Aegyalosaurus dalmaticus is probably about 1 meter long, so relatively small size Aegyalosaur. And because it's from Croatia, and because Aegyala means shore lizard, I'm actually going to go with the Croatian shore lizard for this one, and Croatia will be a theme throughout other taxa. Speaking of the possil Agalasaurus, we're going to jump into Apetiosaurus now. And Apetiosaurus lived around the same time, same place as Agalasaurus, was probably around a similar size, but was probably a bit bulkier, so I've gone with the name Croatian seal lizard, and that's because I'd like to think this thing was sort of a bit lumbering around a bit more than Agalasaurus, even though they basically had the same body structure. Now, Portonatosaurus, which was around the same time as Agalasaurus and Apetiosaurus, again 1 meter long, but found in a different area of Croatia. This animal seems to have a bit more derived features, particularly in the limbs, so it's probably better at swimming, so I'd imagine this animal was further out in the ocean. So that's why I've gone with the name Croatian reef lizard for this one, because I'd like to think that Portonatosaurus was further out in the swell, in the waves, in the water, in the wetter. It was enjoying the wetter a lot more than Agalasaurus and Apetiosaurus, which was sat on the beaches looking grumpy because we can't get out that far. How dare you? We're jumping back to Slovenia, and around the same time as Carzosaurus and Caminosaurus, we have Atechiosaurus. Now this one seems to be a bit smaller, around about 30 centimeters in length, so a foot long. He's tiny. He's very, very small. He's very, very small, aren't you? There's nothing there. I've gone mad. But anyways, he's possibly a bit more basal Mosasauroid than Caminosaurus and Carzosaurus, which are more likely to be Agalasaurs. So for this one, I've gone with the common name, which actually stems from the Latin name of it. So I've gone from Atechion lizard. So that's what I've gone for this one. Next up, we've got a prominent European sort of basal mosasaurid called Adriosaurus, which is actually named for the Adriatic Sea that would have been around at that time and is still here today. Now, this is from the Cenomanian, so around about 95 million years ago. There's up to 3 species in this genus, which include Adriosaurus suzizi, Adriosaurus scribinensis, and Adriosaurus microbrachius. They range from about a foot long to maybe 3 feet long, so decently sized Agalasaurs. So for the type species, which is Adriosaurus suzii, I've gone for the common Adriatic sea lizard. For Adriosaurus scribiensis, I think that's how you pronounce it, I've gone for the Scribian sea lizard. And for Adriosaurus microbrachius, I've gone for short-legged Adriatic lizard. Sorry, I stumbled over my short legs there. But for the common genus name, I've gone for the Adriatic marine lizard. And these guys probably looked very similar to Dolichosaurs, so you could even maybe mash up the names there, but let's not do that because the taxonomy of these animals is already messed up as much as, well, a lot of things. So we're going to go back over to Jerusalem for this one, and this is called Mesaletops, which was a weird-looking animal that lived alongside Hasiosaurus. Again, possibly a basal mosasaurid about a meter long, but in some of the depictions it has a really sort of paddle flat-like tail. So for this one I've gone with the flat-tailed snake lizard, just because it still has a bit of an elongated body and a very snake-like head, and because there wasn't much else to the name that I could try and find that made it distinct. So yeah, flat-tailed snake lizard. Now, Pontosaurus from the Cenomanian about 100 to 93 million years ago. This one's an interesting one. We have specimens in Croatia and specimens in Lebanon. Now, these are actually 2 different species, with the Lebanese species being known as Pontosaurus kornhuberi and Pontosaurus lisiensis in Croatia. Now, for these ones, I've gone with a common name for the genus as the long-tailed marine lizard, because these animals had massive tails, well, massively long tails. And for the specific names, we've gone with, for P. kornhuberi, the Lebanese long-tailed lizard. Sorry for tripped over words again. Tripped over the long tail of a Pontosaurus. And Pontosaurus lisinensis, I've gone with the Croatian long-tailed lizard. So yeah, there's a bit of a distribution there with this animal. And finally, we have Velocilosaurus from Mexico, around about the Low Turonian, so around 89 to 91 million years ago. Around that time, we're not exactly sure. This animal was an Agalasaur, but unfortunately we only have the back half of this animal. Unfortunately, we have the pelvis, one of the back legs, and then a good majority of the tail, with skin being preserved with this specimen, which is, oh, beautiful, fantastic. For the common name for this animal, I've gone with the Balisilian marine lizard, and that's because I didn't have really much to go off with this animal, unfortunately. But yeah, this was a fun experiment, I guess. So I'm looking to continue this series, so I will be doing this for either major families, subgroups, little bits and pieces here and there in mosasaurs. So I'll do more mosasaur common names. Please let me know what you think of this. I really think it's a cool idea. But anyways, guys, that's the end of the video. Hope you've had a good day. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later. Ta-da. Bye.